Good morning. So today we're going to discuss how to find a job and best practices for doing businesses in the Emirates. So if you're following my adventures, you know I've been here for almost a month now, half of that in Dubai, half of that in Abu Dhabi. And it is a bit more complex than it seems actually to do business and to find a job here in the Emirates. So I'm going to give you some of the best practices, what I've learned, and what hopefully is going to help you. So my name is Peggy van der Plas. If you're new to the podcast, welcome, welcome. If not, thank you for being back. So people really often underestimate how different doing business or finding a job is in the UAE compared to Europe or North America. There is an entire parallel universe of relational dynamics, temporal elasticity, and soft signals that are really primordial for you to understand and master if you want to be successful here. So I'm going to chat with you about, the mindset, the pitfalls, and the strategic actions you will need to not just survive, but also to grow and succeed in the UAE. So the first thing I want to mention is the importance of relationship. It is not just networking. It really is about identity. Who you are is actually more important than what you did. I know that might seem weird for us coming from North America or Europe, especially North America, but this is how things are looked at here. Like in many Western markets, the first question that you're asked or that you ask is, what can you do for me? While in the UAE, early conversation really often tilts towards, who are you? What do you stand for? And you really, really need to build trust and personal credibility even before anyone consider your qualifications. So the usual, let's get to know each other over a coffee or lunch, it's not just a courtesy, it's a necessary step. That's something you really need to know. Don't jump the gun too fast. That's also what it means. So what does it mean? Well, it means that your timing is going to be extended. Because before any contract is drafted, you're going to have many meetings, many conversations, formal, informal, that will explain, your shared values, your long-term vision, your stories, your character. So obviously that takes time. The credentials sometimes recede in importance. That might be frustrated for someone who thinks their resume, their qualifications speak for themselves. But, on the bright side, I've seen many people with non-traditional backgrounds that were elevated because decision makers felt that their authenticity, their grit, their chemistry would make them a good match. So that opportunity to be given a chance is also quite appreciated. At least I find it very valuable. So again, it really doesn't mean your credentials are useless. It is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that your credentials will be filtered through a human lens, not isolated. So you're really, I don't like to say judge, but you're assessed as a holistic person. Your reputation, your integrity, word of mouth, or you show up socially, all of that will carry weight. So don't misunderstand the importance of all these small interactions, all this coffee. You might think it's going nowhere. You might think it's going in circle. Absolutely not. This is the process. So be aware, obviously, of the honeymoon period, whether on your side or on the other side. People sometimes oversell, happens in every situation. And, you just need to use your discernment, same than anywhere else. So I just mentioned timeline. So again, these relationships require time because they demand consistency, patience, and presence. So again, don't expect a deal to close quickly just because your pitch is solid. We're not in New York, we're not in Silicon Valley. You're not going to have a check in the line for lunch. It's not how things happen here. So the decision cycles may be slower again, but the trust will be reinforced repeatedly every time you meet. So look at it differently. So it is, again, not a flow, it's a safety mechanism actually in the market. And it is important for you to be here. And what I mean by that is to be in person. As I said, I've been here for a month. You might not move 100% of the time, but it's still better, actually, to be honest, if you can manage the visa story. But people want to know you are committed. One thing that is important is your local headhunter. You know, your local headhunter really becomes a gatekeeper, I would say, way more than in North America. Here, headhunters and search firms, they're more than matchmakers. They are trusted advisors and I would say signal amplifiers. If you are in the rosters of some trusted headhunters, it means that, of course, they have already vetted you and that you are someone that is worthwhile to speak with. Let's put it that way. So what do you do? So connect early with 3 to 5 respected local headhunters. I know easier said than done, especially focus for the ones who specialize in your industry. Provide them with value. And I could not say that enough, insights, connections. So, so they don't see you just as a candidate. If you know of companies that will be, expanding, entering the UAE, meaning they're going to recruit, tip them off because they obviously appreciate mandate leads, so keep that in mind. It's not just one way, it goes both ways. So everything you can do to help, please do it. So again, headhunters, they can open doors, but they also serve as filters. If you don't believe in you, you often won't even get in the room. You might think it is like in Europe and North America, but considering the number of people here that are coming from different geographies, the complexity of the market is higher. So again, headhunters are really, really very important gatekeepers in the system. So one thing about finding a job in the UAE is that you need to understand the nuances. So let's talk about negotiation. So I've been used to talk about annual compensation as an overall package. Okay, so you're throwing whatever number, that number includes, your base, maybe your one-time bonus, maybe your guaranteed bonus, all the perks, all of that, Here, you negotiate a monthly salary, in dirham, obviously, and then from that base, you attempt to layer extras, bonuses, some people, flight, schooling, housing. Keep in mind that the perks from expats are getting rarer and rarer, especially for mid-tier roles, because there is no income tax. Your headline salary, the number is real. That's what you're going to get. But be ready to pay for your kids' education, for your healthcare, for, all these things. So depending on what is your situation, I mean, if you have 3 kids, well, that's going to cost you maybe more money. But if they are tomorrow 3 kids in public school in Canada. So you need to really understand what is the bottom line at the end of the day. Another thing that might be surprising. So there was a study based on nationalities, based on pay structure in the UAE. And so the compensation varies significantly across nationalities, even obviously holding role and tenure constant. So that also gives you an idea of, negotiation power, the relationship density, the market positioning. One thing as well is that if you are not already in a relevant position, so you're not already working in a similar position you're looking for, the company that's going to hire you is going to offer you 20% lower base than, the normal amount. That's a bit the discount that organization embed in their thinking. Good, bad, indifferent, this is the way it is done. Of course, it contributes to high turnover. That's another discussion, but this is what you will see. So let's say your role would guarantee $100,000 dirham per month, which is 0.37 Canadian, so maybe $37,000 Canadian per month. Well, if you are not employed, it's going to end up being 80,000 dirham per month. So that's one of the things to know. I've seen people turning down job because they don't agree with that perspective. I understand you're the same person, you have the same value, but that's the way the market works. So, that's up to you to be part of it or not. Almost all roles carries out a probation period or trial period of 6 months. So that is standard in many organizations. So that is a window that obviously is quite wide. Again, it means that it can create quite a bit of turnover. So that might impact, obviously, as you can imagine, execution when you have a lot of turnover like that. Again, you have to embrace this idea of slow interview loop. You expect to meet multiple decision makers, different stakeholders, successive rounds. You may revisit topics more than once. You're going to repeat your credential. You're going to be asked for more context, even if you already did. So obviously, always follow up promptly. You stay courteous. You remain top of mind without being pushy. Again, you might feel that you're chasing in circles sometimes. It is part of the dance. It is part of the process. So now if we're talking about doing business, about, building, leading an office here in the UAE, let's say you're a Canadian company, you want to have a new office here, what's what? So first question is where and how to anchor this new business. So you have a choice of geography and regulatory structure, and it matters far more than you might think. In the UAE, you have over 43 zones, each with its own rules, own licensings, all advantage. Some allow 100% foreign ownership. Some, there is no foreign exchange control. So they all have their specificity. Onshore, mainland entities, they're regulated by each Emirates Department of Economy. The oversight, is subject to newer company laws. Since 2021, many sectors now allow 100% foreign ownership in mainland. It was not the case before. You needed to have a partner, a local partner. But in some strategic sectors, you still need to have a component of local ownerships. So free zone companies who want to do business on the mainland will sometimes need a branch or a dual license. So again, not that easy. So then, obviously, you need to understand which emirate are you going to choose. Are you going to choose Abu Dhabi? Are you going to choose Dubai? Are you going to choose Sharjah? There are strategic impacts because the DNA and the networks differ. The business ecosystem in Abu Dhabi is different than the business ecosystem in Dubai. The same way that London is not Manchester, New York is not Silicon Valley, Toronto is not Vancouver. Same rationale. The cost structures will differ. The rental, the labor, the logistic, the incentive, they will vary depending on where you are. The regulators obviously will be different as well. What I see a lot is that many companies, they just defer to Dubai because of the brand. They know the brand. Dubai advertises a lot. Obviously, it's a tourist destination. But in some cases, Abu Dhabi might offer a better strategic alignment. So if they had taken the time to analyze and understand the market, they would not have made that mistake. So again, to be taken seriously, your local presence matters. A PO box or a virtual office, it's not going to cut it. If you want to deal with public entities, with some investors, with counterparts, the expectation is that you're going to have a team, an office, a footprint in the geography. So one thing you also need to understand is that local leaders have very ambitious vision, which is why they've been able to build something quite extraordinary very quickly in the middle of a desert. So they're really comfortable thinking big. Execution, more difficult. So that's why they have to use and bring expats in order to do it. So one of the challenge you might see is that the high turnover, I spoke about that a bit already, can really damage the execution. So projects are often, like half finished or they're derailed because the staffing changed midstream or the people are maybe not experienced enough in that type of execution. So that's one of the challenges you might see in execution. So to lead effectively, you need to build resilient systems, identify your anchor people so that can survive beyond your tenure and really embed continuity. So then time, deadlines, elasticity of time. So time is not fixed in the UAE. A deadline is more aspirational. People arrive late to meetings. Approval may take, multiple circulations. You'll see some loop. This is not laziness. It is, caution. It is different. It's layered authority at work. It is a different thing. So if your mental model expects linear progress, you will burn out. So instead, what you need to do, you need to plan buffer time. You assume that there will going to be delays. You need to use your relationships to expedite. Sometimes a well-placed call clears red tape. Use it. Be explicit about timelines, but flexible in execution and really build patience. That's something that most people told me. You need to be patient. The thing that I don't necessarily see, which I think is a big mistake when you're expanding your business or opening a business here, is the lack of local knowledge. If you're going to lead in the UAE, you need to become fluent in local stakeholder maps, the government, semi-public entities, the regulator. You need to understand the cultural norms, the etiquette, the negotiation styles, the indirect communication. Keep in mind that you have a lot of expats from all the countries in the world, and they all have a different way to do business. And maybe you look at me and you're like, well, she's French. I'm French, but I spent all my career in North America. So I'm French, but, I do business like a North American, or at least in the middle. So it is not that easy to navigate, between the people, professional experience, their citizenship, their culture, that's probably the part that people tell me as well is the most complex, navigating cultural differences. So, of course, you're going to have to understand contract law, labor laws, all that stuff. And you're going to have to plug yourself into the local networks, the chambers of commerce, the different communities, all of that. That's going to be very important to be successful. So you will often win not because you have a better product, but because you can navigate the local ecosystem with fewer frictions. That's really something important to know. And so here, the complexity is not a bug. So if you walk in treating the UAE as just another market, you will misstep. But if you understand the ambiguity, the non-linearity, the relational heavy lifting as inherent features, you can thrive. So again, patience is a strategic lever. You will see, competitors rush and fail. Your relational bank matters. Small gestures, thoughtfulness, consistency pay dividends. keep in mind that it is a long-term relationship, very different approach. We're not in the transactional approach of North America. Be generous, share intel, open doors, follow up sincerely. You know, it's again, different way of doing business. You need to use discernment because you don't necessarily understand where you're putting your feet. So, you know, don't arrive assuming you understand what's going on. And obviously resilience. Many projects stall, pivot, die. Often it is not your fault, you know, like you're going to have to be endurant. So that's what I wanted to share about what I've learned in that last month, speaking with a lot of people, going to a lot of events, and also doing my own research on how to find a job, how to do business, how to operate here. As you can see, it's very exciting because it's quite different, which is the value of expatriation as well. If it's to do the same thing elsewhere, that's not as interesting. But at the same time, you need to go with your eyes wide open because it is very different. So thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will be there next week. Bye-bye.